Hi everyone, I'm here with Ross, and we're going to be doing part 2 of the paranormal videos that I had promised, talking about Greyfriars Kirkyard, and specifically George Mackenzie's tomb / the Covenanters prison. The number of bodies in Greyfriars Kirkyard is impossible to calculate. I think there's only about 500 tombstones. But the number of bodies, because not a lot of people could afford tombstones, so the bodies were just kind of layered on top of each other in mass graves. So the actual body count of Greyfriars Kirkyard is impossible to calculate.
And they would also bury, like the poor people would bury their dead with other people's, like in their tombs.
Yeah.
Like in other people's caskets.
They would like dig up new caskets and put their dead in it in like the dead of night. So even like if they did get a count of caskets, it would be impossible to say how many people in it.
But what's a kirkyard?
A kirkyard is a Scottish word for church. So churchyard or a graveyard.
There you go.
Yep.
That's what a kirkyard is.
Yep.
I bet you were all wondering that.
Oh. But George Mackenzie, or otherwise known as Bloody George Mackenzie, was a lawyer in about 1632, I think he was born.
Mm-hmm.
And he led a slaughter of Scottish people under the order of Charles II of England, who wanted the whole of the UK to be Catholic once again, but Scotland wanted to remain the Church of Scotland. And so a bunch of people, I believe it was like 23,000 people, signed a document called the Covenanters document? Covenanters something, guide or something like that, saying, no, we are going to remain the Church of Scotland. And of course, Charles II didn't like that very much. And so he sent Mackenzie out to kill these people. And at the Battle of Bunker Hill, not Bunker Hill, that was here, in America.
Yeah, that was America.
That was America. At a certain battle, the Covenanters lost. They were destroyed. And so they were taken back to Edinburgh. And in the certain part of Greyfriars, there is a walled section that bodies just weren't buried. It was just a field in the graveyard. And they were forced to lie face down in this part of Greyfriars in the dead of the harsh Scottish winter, with guards, with what are they called, snipers, looking on them all the time. Basically, they could just kill at will. 1,200 people went into the Covenanters prison, and only about 500 came out about 8 months later.
It's not a very big area.
It's really
either.
not. It's only a couple yards wide.
No.
Long.
No.
What?
Not a couple yards.
What?
It's more than 2 yards long. It's like, I would say 15 to 20 yards wide and 100 yards long.
So it's really not that
not
big.
Not even 100 yards. Like 75, 60, 75, somewhere.
And now in this area, it is lined with mausoleums. But since so much paranormal activity, so much harmful paranormal activity has happened in this area, the Council of Edinburgh has decided to just lock it off, and it remained locked off for a number of years before City of the Dead tours gained the right to the key. And so they are the only people that can bring you back there. That is the only way you can get back into the Covenanters prison.
And then there's the only other person is the keeper of the kirkyard.
Yep.
That works at the church, the Greyfriars Kirk.
So if you are in Edinburgh and you want to go into the Covenanters prison, you need to go with City of the Dead tour. They're a little sketchy. I'm not gonna lie.
At first, yeah. And then it's all a big show. Get people all excited for a ghost tour. Ghosties,
Yep. So yeah, it is a show with them. It's not like about history. They do give you a lot of history, but it's not, excuse me, a history walk with some ghostly aspects to it, like Mercat, which I talked about in my last video was. So in the Covenanters prison, there's a very, very famous mausoleum called the Black Mausoleum, where, although I did mention George Mackenzie, this is a poltergeist called the Mackenzie Poltergeist that a lot of psychics and mediums have said is not George Mackenzie. It is just a poltergeist. But it has had over 4,000 fainting attacks in that mausoleum in the past year. People have come out there with scratches, with bruising. There's a picture that they have on like their little stand for the City of the Dead tour with a person with like a huge like rash thing they got right here after going into.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's like a rash or a bite, I don't quite remember, but it's huge and just like on their forearm. So while we were in there, we didn't notice anything. We didn't really feel anything. There was a point where I did get a little faint, but that was.
I think it was because you were standing with your knees locked.
Yeah,
because they keep you in the little mausoleum for like 20 minutes.
And I do get very claustrophobic with a lot of people.
Yeah, there's quite a few people. There's like 30 people or something.
There was a huge number of people that went on that tour.
Yeah, there's a little mausoleum.
Yeah.
And, you're standing there. If you don't really pay attention, sometimes you stand with your knees locked.
Yeah.
Fall over. Faint.
So I'm pretty sure that's what happened with me. Although at George Mackenzie's tomb, I did get an experience that I did talk about in the first of my paranormal videos, where Ross was snapping a picture of me standing in front of George Mackenzie's mausoleum, and I heard a help from behind me inside the mausoleum.
Yeah,
which,
you were great.
Yeah, anyway, and then Ross did have an experience in the graveyard.
Yeah, well, we were sitting there listening to the City of the Dead person talk about the Greyfriers Bobby, which we'll talk about here in a second. But right behind, he was standing near the Greyfriar Bobby's grave, the tombstone, and behind him, off behind some like flowers or something, I just out of the corner of my eye, I saw like a figure move, and it was very human. And I thought it was actually like a person standing in the back. And then I sort of did a double take, and nothing there.
If you do go to Edinburgh, go to Greyfriars, it's an amazing experience. Being both there during the day and the night.
Yeah, nights. It's a completely different graveyard at night, though. Completely.
It's a beautiful graveyard during the day. I know that's really morbid to say, but it is a really beautiful graveyard.
It's calm during the day.
Yeah. Like in a very busy city, Greyfriars is very, very calm. At night, it's the scariest experience you will ever have.
Yeah.
There's a reason it's the most haunted graveyard in the world.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Well, what they said was Greyfriars Kirkyard is actually in a valley. And the valley used to be below the grass market, and now it's 200 feet above the grass market.
Because of bodies.
Because of bodies.
Yep. So it's a very overpopulated graveyard. People aren't buried there anymore for obvious reasons.
So that's a lot of bodies that are there, and it's just the bodies. Just the bodies. And they said when it rains, the keeper of the graveyard has to go around and pick up bones that come up out of the ground.
Because they're so close to the surface. It looks like we're out of time. I'm sorry. So we really did want to get into more stories, but we only have 10 minutes because YouTube is like that. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Ross and Megan, looking terrible after a really long day.
At work.
Yeah. So I will see you guys in a video soon. Hopefully Ross will as well.
We'll tell you about Greyfriar Bobby.
Yeah, bye!